Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another day of Vlogmas. I was just gonna try and do the day there, but I actually totally don't know what day of Vlogmas it is. I've screwed myself up on the schedule. Today, I'm not really sure how much I'm gonna be vlogging because I have to take my mom to a doctor's appointment. She's getting a small procedure done, so I'm gonna be there for most of the day, and I feel like I'm not gonna have anything to vlog, but you know me, I always figure something out. So that is the plan for today. Hello again, and welcome to the end of the day. Thankfully, you guys didn't end up missing anything today because I did take a bit of footage from everything I did that was relatively vloggable. I'm currently home and I have a lot to get done tonight, so this is going to be a relatively short one. Breaking news. Hey, Roy Moore lost in Alabama. For the discussion or chat section of this video, I wanted to talk very briefly about my law school experience. If you're wondering where that question came from Bree Hill has been leaving me great questions to talk about at the end of these videos where I haven't had anything to vlog all day, so thanks for having my back, Bree. If you guys have any topics that you would specifically like to see a video discussion on, feel free to leave me a comment down below. But Bree wanted me to talk about my experience with law school, I think because I've only mentioned it very briefly, kind of just in passing. For those of you who don't know, as an undergrad, I received a Bachelor's of Art in English Literature with no specific emphasis because we didn't do that at my program. But rather than going to do a Master's in English or get a PhD, I decided to do the law school route. Now, I predominantly did this because I had some idea in my brain that as an English student who wasn't, ostensibly the most employable graduate in the world, I needed some kind of a professional degree, and people had suggested law school to me in the past, and when I was talking to professors and things trying to get a sense of what I should do next, that was something that kept coming up over and over again because it would really utilize my writing and research skills. And I would say in that area they were completely spot on, because my favorite class in law school was definitely my writing and research course. I did really well in that class, and my professor seemed to be really impressed with my writing abilities and all that. So, I mean, that was good advice in a sense. However, in the US, a JD or a Juris Doctorate is a 3-year degree, and I only ended up completing 1 year. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit, though I'm not going to go into specifics because, like I said, I have a lot to get done tonight and I want to keep this relatively brief. If you guys want a more in-depth video about my experience as a 1L, I will totally give that to you, but just not tonight. I first want to say that your 1L year, or your first year in law school, is sort of designed to break you down and to weed out the weak. I like to think of it as the legal version of boot camp. Basically, anybody who has made it past their first year in law school will tell you that don't worry, it does get better, your workload gets lighter, and you actually get to start picking your classes. I've always been the kind of person who has really loved school and who has loved studying and was good at studying, and I was really looking forward to applying those skills in what was supposed to be this crazy hard arena. However, the big difference was that in college, where I very much worked my butt off and took extra classes I probably didn't need to take, and very much went above and beyond, in college I was studying something I was genuinely passionate about and that I really didn't mind expending blood, sweat, and tears on. Do you remember back at the beginning of this discussion when I mentioned I went to law school because I felt like I should be going to grad school, or like I needed to go to grad school? That was the problem. I didn't go to law school because I had a lifelong dream of becoming a lawyer. I didn't even go to law school because I had a burning passion for a specific area of law. I literally went to law school because I thought I needed a professional degree for people to take me seriously. And honestly, at the end of the day, or I guess at the end of my first year, that wasn't a strong enough motivating factor for me to justify how unhappy I was in law school. Basically, at the end of the year, I was physically exhausted, mentally exhausted, and I was in this really unhappy, anxious, dark headspace And I had to say, okay, like, if this is all the negative I've accrued over the year, is it worth it? Like, what am I getting out of it? And it wasn't that I was achieving a lifelong dream. It wasn't that I was suddenly gaining a skill that would allow me to serve the community in a way I had always wanted to. It was just me hoping that if I completed this degree, that maybe somewhere down the line somebody would take me more seriously and maybe think of employing me. And yeah, there were a lot of like specific frustrations that I had that all added up to that decision to leave, but ultimately it came down to, is this something that I personally think is worth being this unhappy for? I feel like that's such a negative and unhelpful place to finish the video on, so I do want to throw out one piece of advice for those of you who maybe you're watching this and you're in law school right now. If you've just finished your first semester and you're thinking, dear Lord, I cannot go back and do that again next semester, take a little bit of a break, and then go back and do semester 2. Stick it out for at least 1 year. Honestly, although I did decide to leave and although ultimately law school was not for me, I do not regret my first year at all. Yes, it was incredibly hard, and yes, at the end I was a little bit depressed and anxious, but I learned so much, not only like legally, but I learned so much about myself, and I became so much more in touch with what is actually good for me and what I actually want out of life, that if that's all I got out of it, it was totally worth it to do the first year. And honestly, although I'm making the whole year sound terrible, second semester is a lot easier than your first semester, simply because you've figured out what works best for you, whether that is a specific study habit or a study partner, or you figured out your professors. You know, it is easier. It's not a whole lot easier, but it is easier. So I would say stick out the full year. That way you can say, I've completed a full year, I've given it a fair shot, and you can make an informed decision as to whether or not you want to stay. So I have ended up rambling on way too long, and I need to wrap this up, but hopefully that was relatively interesting for you guys, and hopefully it was informative too, because I think this is something to really think about no matter what kind of grad school you're in. Regardless of the graduate program, not only will you be investing a ton of time and energy, but you're also going to be investing a crap ton of money, because education for some reason is really expensive. So if you're not 100% sure about your grad school path, that's totally valid, and that's something worth taking the time to think about. So yeah, I hope this video kind of showed you my own thought process and how I figured out what I wanted to do and whether or not I wanted to continue. Anyways, really wrapping it up this time. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you're enjoying Vlogmas so far, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye!